In today's video, we are going to be discussing how to have a general idea of how much your dream home in the Philippines would cost in 2024. My wife asks me this all the time, magkano kaya yung bahay nila? More or less. And usually, mga contractors, developers, engineers, architects, we kind of have a ballpark figure just by looking at a home, a more or less idea of how much that house costs. This is something that's very, very important, not just to engineers and people in the industry, but to you as a future homeowner, because that budget will be used by you when you're talking to the architect or the designer kung gaano kalaki yung bahay natin, ano yung level of finishes na kaya natin, and all these other factors. Today, I'm going to teach you that trick of the trade to compute more or less how much your dream home would cost if you were to build it in 2024. This video is brought to you by the new Holcim XL EcoPlanet. When building our home, it's not just the cost that's important, but syempre yung durability, yung quality, and sustainability should be considered as well. This is where the new Holcim XL EcoPlanet comes in. It is an innovative and environmentally friendly cement that offers enhanced performance advantages. This new type of cement has sustainable compositions that reduces energy consumption by using less clinker. So clinker is a material that's used to produce cement. So it protects the environment by using less of that, and nagle-lessen din yung CO2 emissions nila during production by at least 30% by using these alternatives. So this cement is perfect for contractors and homeowners looking for greener solutions for their project. And when it comes to durability, this is still very much a high-performance cement. So it has high resistance to sulfate, making it more durable, low porosity, low heat of hydration, and I think most importantly, it minimizes mga shrinkage and cracking. So yung mga maliliit na hairline cracks that we see on the walls, mas nare-reduce yun. And it can be used not just for structural applications, pwede din siyang gamitin for general masonry. If you want to know more about Holcim EcoPlanet, check out the link to their website in the description below, or ask your local hardware store all about it. Okay, let's get started. So this is going to be fairly straightforward, pero meron tayong mga main topics na pag-usapan. We're going to talk about the factors that affect the cost of the home and how to compute an overall budget, but that's not all. We're also going to be talking about the other expenses na hindi kasama sa budget na yun. Those things that may surprise you and those things that you need to be aware of, especially when you're planning on moving to that house. And lastly, and I think most importantly, I'm gonna give you my own personal tips on how you can save when it comes to the cost of your new home. First up, we have to know the size of the home that we want. So a bigger home, syempre, is going to be a lot more expensive than a small home. So dapat alam natin ano yung square meter ng bahay natin. So a square meter is 1 meter by 1 meter. So this room ni Scotty, is about 20 square meters. So let's say, for example, if I were to build a house about 4-5 times this size of this room, so that area is just one factor. Yung other factor naman na magdidictate ng malaki when it comes to the cost of that house is the level of finish. Do you want a bare house lang, walang masyadong tiles, wala talagang pintura, very concrete finish? That's going to be, of course, cheaper. Meron yung scale when it comes to the level of finish. So you multiply that size with the ballpark figure cost of the level of finish. Typically, an economical home, the most basic home you can get, you can do it for 20 to 25,000 pesos per square meter. So let's say, for example, if I was going to be building a 100 square meter house na as simple as possible, as budgeted as possible, that would mean I would have to spend around 2 million to 2.5 million pesos on the structure itself. Meron pa itong mga plus na pag-usapan natin mamaya. Then we have a tier higher naman, yung mga mid-end, tinatawag natin mga mid-cost na mga finishes. So it's a tier above the economical, less bare, mas pintura, may mga tiles na. That's usually at around 30 to 40,000 pesos per square meter as per my experience. Pero of course, may range talaga yon. Pwede mo rin sabihin, gusto ko ultra luxury. My definition of ultra luxury, yung sobrang mahal talaga is wala kang makikitang pintura. Puro bato, kahoy, fluted walls everywhere, marbles here and there, glass that are very expensive, yung mga slim profile na glass, yung mga malalaking glass that can be pushed with one finger, can have wood floorings, yung mga bathroom fixtures, mas quality na yung mga ginagamit na mga faucets, mga sinks. That is what I would consider like super ultra luxury. That starts pa lang at 50,000 pesos per square meter. Yung mga nakikita nating mga mansion tours, mga Beverly mansions, that's about 100,000 per square meter and above na talaga. It's up to infinity, to be honest. Kasi meron mga high-end kitchen na mga around 1 million pesos, sabihin natin. But meron ding mga, the same kitchen looks a lot better and very detailed and wood panels and umaabot na siya ng 5 million, 10 million. I've even heard of someone building a 16 million peso kitchen alone. So that's why sinasabi ko up to infinity na talaga yun. Sky's the limit yung mga budget ng mga yun. But that's just to give you an understanding that although the structure can be the same, the architectural finish of a home can dictate a lot when it comes to the pricing. So you get the area and the level of the finish, and you get a general idea of how much a home would cost. So just as an example, gusto ko to the level of finish ng Skypod. This is probably at today's rate, maybe 60 to 70,000 per square meter. That should cost you about 6 million pesos. Ganyan lang siya kasimple to have that ballpark figure. But there are other factors that you need to be aware of, especially from a homeowner's perspective. Itong mga computation na to doesn't take into account all these other factors, such as the terrain of the property. So for example, if it's very sloping, mas mahal yun kasi you have to do soil reinforcements, mga stilts. Similar to our Monteraza's Prime project, mas mataas yung budget dun. We needed to have a better structural, we had to protect the soil, etc. So may mga add-on to. Another example would be if the terrain is naka-recess ng konti, so meaning it's below road level. Kailangan natin maglagay ng mga backfilling. We have to buy soil and compact it to raise the level of that property. That's another spend. Another factor would be the design complexity. A minimal structure would be cheaper versus a complicated structure na ang dami-daming partitions. So yung mga open living na uso ngayon, that tends to be far more affordable than mas traditional na design, yung mga maraming mga moldings, mga ganyan. Another factor also to consider on top of our ballpark figure would be, where are you building? Are you building near where all the materials are readily available? If you're building in the city, for example, mas mura yun versus building in an island like Siargao or Boracay, wherein everything has a big transportation cost to mobilize to that area. Mga material cost natin to get people there, that adds a lot of cost. What is not included in this is hindi ko pa sinama yung mga design fees, mga architectural fees, mga structural designer fees, electrical engineer, geotechnical, mga soil, mga ganyan. Landscaping costs, hindi pa sa kasama doon. Mga fencing costs, hindi pa rin kasama. So, make sure lang na may budget ka pa kasi meron pa tong mga add-on eh. Funny story, kami ni Chris, when we moved in, akala namin, okay, over budget tayo ng konti, pero kaya pa. But what we didn't expect was how much all the other items cost. Like for example, ang towel, ang mahal pala. Yung mga plato, sobrang mahal. Spoon and fork is very expensive. Then you start to buy ovens, refrigerators, etc. So that's why I feel like when you're doing budgeting, don't just think of the house itself. Meron pa yung mga add-on cost sa pag-move in natin sa bahay itself. Typically, I would add 10 to 20% just so that you're sure. There's all these other small items that most likely hindi natin nakikita from the very start. So good to have a certain buffer. And this is where I start to give you some tips on how to minimize the expense when it comes to your home. The biggest factor na nakikita ko is yung change order. Yung tipong the homeowner would just say, pwede ba nating ilipat tong CR na to a few meters to the left? Typically, ang cost niyan 200, 300,000 pesos depending on the finish inside. Magugulat yung owner. Bakit ang mahal? Lilipat ko lang naman a few steps to the left. What you don't realize is that by moving the entire thing, you're rectifying the ceiling, you're demolishing the walls and building new walls. Not only that, yung electrical wiring magbabago, yung water line magbabago, you have to remove everything, yung tiles hindi na magagamit most likely, and a lot more pa. So just by that movement, ang laki na ng expense. So my suggestion to you when it comes to change orders is to spend as much time as possible in finalizing it in the drawings pa. Changing something in the drawings is far, far cheaper than changing something in the actual site. Especially ngayon na may mga 3D renderings na tayo, may mga new technologies na that we can actually be as close to the experience of the real thing as possible. It's a good idea to spend more time on that design phase. Yung tipong, mamaya ko na yun i-figure out, doon na lang sa site, tingnan ko na lang, or sa construction site, sinasabi pa na sa actual na lang yun gawin. That typically adds to the expense. Okay, that's my rant on change orders. I can feel yung mga contractors and people in the trade saying, yes, yes, yes. Nodding their heads na yan talaga, number one problem. Not only does it cost money, that it costs time also. So, end of my rant when it comes to change orders. Another way we've actually implemented to save money is to spend money on the right things. Hindi kailangan the best of the best lahat. A lot of times when we're building a new home, gusto natin the best of the best lahat. And when I was building this house, yung feeling ko was, pang lifetime na to so gagastusan ko na lang. But what I've learned is these things add up na umabot na, hindi na natin afford to. So what we did is we actually kind of like value engineered everything. So for example, our house is a glass house. So we spent a lot on the main glass panels that are the most important to us. But for the smaller glass panels and for the back of house, gumamit na kami ng cheaper version. Not inferior versions, but a more affordable version na hindi naman kailangan super high-end. And truly, if you compute it over time, okay, let's just spend for that. And then, okay, let's just spend for that. Over the whole project, that will really, really blow. That's coming from a personal experience. Lastly, and I think this is the most rewarding, but also the hardest to do, is to source out multiple suppliers. So multiple contractors, compare their bids, if it's which one is cheaper, which one is higher quality, etc. So for glass, for tiles, for bathroom fixtures, we did this for everything. Medyo madugo lang talaga to compare all the quotes, but few 100,000 here and there adds up a lot over the long run. Meron pa pala, work with the proper professionals. Huwag natin i-shortcut na si foreman na lang bahala, wala nang, I don't need a structural engineer, I don't need an architect, I don't need an interior designer. Work with the proper professionals. Although they cost upfront, the overall value that you get from having the right professionals on your team, hindi nababayaran. The proper professionals will lead you to the right suppliers. That alone can pay for itself. They reduce the amount of headache that you would have from a homeowner's perspective. Marami kasi akong mga homeowners na nakakausap and then sabi nila, ay kaya ko na yun, ako na bahala, ako na mag-check, ako mismo ang pupunta sa site. The problem is, you don't know what you're looking for. Ang daming mga maliliit na bagay, only a trained eye can see. And if you don't know exactly how it's supposed to be done, kaya kang i-maneuver. I've had one project and then pag-inspect ko, sabi ko parang mali yun. Sabi ko, I think this should be done this certain way. Sabi niya, ihahabol lang namin yan, sir. Oo, pero pag nahabol niyo, di ba magka-crack yun? Oo po, sir, magka-crack po. So sabi ko, ba't yung ginagawa ng ganyan? But let's say, for example, you didn't know. Pag sinabihan ka na, hahabol lang namin yan, sir, no worries. Hindi mo na alam kung tama ba yun o hindi. So I think having the right people on your team really, really helps you a lot, not just with saving money, also with the headache of it all. Those are my, I would say, top tips when it comes to saving costs in your home. Okay, medyo marami na tayong napag-usapan and I hope that this is actually helpful to you guys and those who are dreaming of your new home, congratulations. I hope that this video has been helpful, giving you an idea of how much it truly costs when it comes to building a home here in the Philippines. And I hope that you subscribe. Malapit na tayong magwa 1 million. That's kind of like my little goal for this year na aabot tong channel na to 1 million. So if you're not subscribed yet, please do hit the subscribe button and I'll see you later.